starting what's called hypothesis tests. And in order to do a hypothesis test, you first have to decide what you're actually trying to test. And so hypothesis tests, it's a formal procedure that tests what your sample results are and compares it to what the population you believe is. And so, for example, if an automobile manufacturer advertised that they had a hybrid car and that it had a mean of 50 miles per gallon, okay, if they said this, to test this claim, you would go out and you would take a sample. So what they're saying is that they have a population value that they claim is true. They claim that the population is equal to 50 miles per gallon. And you would go out and you would do a test to see if you had enough evidence that it was not. And so if I think about my curve with my 50 in the middle, because that's what you said the middle was, I would go out and I would do a test, and maybe my value would have come out here. I'm using X bar because that's a sample symbol. And this would be the evidence that you're not meeting that. If that evidence, that probability is below 0.05, 5%, then maybe we don't believe them. See what I mean? That's basically the idea of a hypothesis test. You decide what they're claiming about the population, you get a sample value, you compare that sample value using a probability, and if you're interested in it just not being equal, you actually will test, you'll double your area because you'll also have the upper area too that you'll have to include in there. We'll do some tests like that. So today what I want to accomplish is I want to accomplish writing the formal statement, the hypothesis that you're testing. And so these are formal statements down here that are testing a hypothesis. Okay, these are the statements. This statement right here would be testing if you have the mean in the middle and you're testing it not being that, it would be testing it on both sides. If you're testing item number 2 here, the mean again is in the middle, you're going to be getting data, some value k, it's going to be on this side, and you're testing if it's below. See that? Last one here, it would be looking like this. What's in the middle? The population value is always in the middle. This one is wondering if you got a k value over here, do you have enough evidence that it's unusually high? Okay, so that's basically what they're testing. Although I'm going to have you write your hypothesis statements using either means or proportions, the only tests that I'll have you do for this last unit test will be on means. I'm not going to have you do the proportion tests. You'll have to do that in college. Okay, so one last thing to just say about this is that we know that mu is a population mean. We know that X bar is a sample mean. For proportions, P is a population, P hat is a sample. But I'm not going to make you do any tests on proportions, so you won't actually have to use the P hat symbol at all. You just will have to write statements with a P. Okay, so you want to try attempt to write these? Okay, now I just want to point out that as you can see on these, before we go to the next page, you can see that I also wrote this over here. Those two statements, that greater than or equal to, that less than or equal to, those to me, they help me think through what my alternate is, because if you notice, the alternative hypothesis has always no equal in its symbol. See? Less than, not equal. There's no equal in that, no equal in the greater than. There's always no equal in the alternate. So if you see that a statement, a claim is saying something like this, it tells you what the complement is that you're going to have for the no equal statement. But you can always write your null hypothesis exactly like this with an equal sign. Feeling nervous? Good. Then you're doing it right, people. Next page. Okay. So we're going to be writing these original claims. What are we looking at? Let's see what we're looking at here. Okay. I like to just sort of think it through. Off to the side there, okay? Just try to translate what this sentence is saying about the population. So, when the gas pumps at ABC Gas say 1 gallon, they say 1 gallon. The gas delivered is actually less than 1 gallon. So, what kind of equal signs or inequalities can you write from this statement here? And what symbol would you use? Would you use a mu or would you use a p? Proportions will be either percents, ratios, and it will never have units, so no units. It has a unit. So that, and actually the other class thought it was proportions too, but like, no, it's a means because it's got units on it of gallons. So it's got to be means. So that means we know we're going to be using the symbol mu. Okay, so what do you think you could write about this? Like, what about this gas delivered is actually less than 1 gallon? What would you say? Mu is what? Less than 1 gallon. Maybe from the first statement, you might be able to say mu is equal, right? But this is the important thing that you're going to be testing. There's no equal sign on that statement. Okay, my null is H sub 0. My alternate is H sub A. That's a colon, by the way, not an equal sign. Dot, dot. Okay. Remember, down here is always no equal sign involved in that inequality. So this would have to go down there because it does not have an equal sign in it. So mu is less than 1 gallon. Mu is equal to 1 gallon. See, that wasn't too bad. Wasn't so bad, was it? Okay, the null always has an equal sign right here. Always. That's always an equal sign right there. Always. Always. This one, never an equal sign. So the only options for down here are less than, greater than, or not equal. So like you can't have any other symbols down there except for those 3. This one, you can always put an equal sign. Okay, so what would this one be testing, just so that you can think it through? The mean would have been in the middle, which would have been 1. And probably my K would have been something down here. My X bar would have been something down here. And I would have been testing that area. Is that area below 5%? Is it below 0.05? If it is, that's evidence that they were lying about their gas pumps. If it's greater than 0.05, then I don't have enough evidence to say they're lying about their gas pumps. Okay. That's statistics in a nutshell. Do you have evidence? It has to be a probability below some level, usually 0.05. Okay, next one. Do you want to see if you can try to decipher what this sentence is saying off to the side here? Do you feel like it's going to be a mu? Do you feel like it's going to be a p? Which symbol? Mean. So it's going to be a mu. Write what you think this thing's saying. Okay. Okay, so then now the complement of being equal to something, less than or greater than. So how can I write that as one symbol? I'm either equal to it or I'm not, the bar through. Exactly, because see, so like since this is saying equal, the complement of equal is not equal. So like up here, I could have written this one as greater than or equal to, but the thing is when I come over to here, I always just write it as equal. Okay, so there's that. So now, okay, H sub O colon, H sub A colon. Which of these is going to go down here? Which one is going to go up here? Yep. That's right. Okay, so then just now I'm drawing this curve off to the side. You don't have to do this on your test. All you have to do is write your statements, right? But I just, because we only have one more day, and this is a half day, just to draw. Okay, so here's my thing. I would have tested the 68 would have been my middle. Somebody would have given me a sample value. I don't know which side it would have come out on. Let's just pretend it came out over here. And because I'm doing a not equal, after getting this probability right here, you would have then doubled it to account for it having been potentially being on the upper side. Okay, so like that's how that basically works, is if you have a not equal down here, it means that you take your probability, then you double it, and then that gives you the probability of the both sides, the not equal, being lower or being higher. Remember we were thinking about, we were like, well, if you're equal to it or you could have been lower or higher, that's not equal, that's doubling. Okay, what symbol for this next one? Yeah, 50%. So see how it's 50%? So that's going to be a P. Percents and decimals with no units, ratios, proportions. Okay, so this is saying greater than half. So what's that statement saying? Right, but P is greater than 0.50. I'm just going to write it as a decimal. The complement of that would have been less than or equal to, but when we come over here, this always just becomes an equal. So P is equal, yep. P is greater. Okay, you want to try these two and I'll walk around. Here, I'll draw it out too, by the way. This P would have been in the middle. They would have given me some P hat value. It would have been on this side. And they would have been wondering if this probability is so small that it's unusual to happen if in fact our middle is 0.5. That's what they would have been looking at. Okay, so I'm going to walk around. If you're doing the video, you could pause the video and then try those two problems and then see how they go. Just pause this thing. At least means you could be that or more. So that gives you that greater than or equal to. Equal to has to be on your null. Alternative, what's the complement of being greater than or equal to being less than? That doesn't have an equal sign. That's got to be on your alternative. This would have been a one-tailed test, just testing the lower tail. Then we see that it's an equal sign here when we write our statement. The complement of being equal is being not equal. So that tells us with the equal sign going to the null and the not equal going to the alternative, there's our situation. This would have been a double tail because we would have been testing the lower and the higher. So when we get our side, whatever side it is, we would double the probability and get the other side. Okay? Questions? So you have a mini quiz that does a few problems for practice. You have, and those ones you can ask me about next class. You have your test. If you want to, you can start writing your hypotheses for your test to get a jump start on it.